Welcome back to Operation Indoctrination. I'm your host, JB. We have a really good and interesting show today. I think today will be very interesting for those of you that maybe are not so filled in on what's going on in our school system, really understand the truth of how it all relates to the United States system, the American elites, the American establishment, and how it is used to control people. Because the school system is it's many things, and you can make many surface level observations. You can bash it. It's very easy to do. You can check out our School Sucks series, and that's important to do, by the way. It's important to bash the school system for just basic things, to keep things kind of a little bit micro instead of macro. However, we also need to look at the school system in a more broad, big picture sense, and how it sort of relates to everything else happening in America. And if you look at our political establishment, the way that it seems like both political parties are terrible. It seems like you can't get anyone good elected. It seems like most of the American people are really just apathetic. It seems like we really can't get control of our country, so we have to understand why that is, who is pulling the strings, and how the school system relates to the premise of this episode is going to be that the school system is taking a vital part in the silent and secretive erosion of our freedoms and our liberties. And I mean true freedom, not the freedom to go out and do drugs. I mean the freedom to have a family, the freedom to worship your God. That is precisely what I mean. So basically, the way the school system does this is they bash you. They grind you up into a million little pieces, metaphorically, and they do so by making you fat. They do so by making you depressed. They do so by making you basically numbing you to anything, to any other outside influences. They numb you. They turn you into a zombie that it can be used as a pawn by the powers that be. And you can argue. I'm not necessarily saying that all of this is exactly intentional, was all planned out in some drawing room, because that's not what I believe would happen. That's not what I believe happened. I believe some of this was certainly caused intentionally, and some of it has sort of evolved naturally. So this isn't exactly a conspiracy theory, because I'm not alleging a conspiracy here. I'm alleging a sort of natural evolution of the very bad idea of the school system in the first place. So if you will hear me out here, I think you will be convinced. So let's look at some ways that the school system basically turns you into sort of like, I don't know if any of you have ever seen the movie WALL-E, but you had like the humans that were all sort of docile, and they all, none of them ever got out of their chair, and they ate just junk food, that sort of thing, where you're basically a sheep. And if you haven't seen the movie, then that's basically it, is you're a sheep, you're guided, you don't actually have any internal dialogue, you don't have any free will, you kind of just go along with the pack, and that's how it works. So first, let's look at school lunches. So school lunches are kind of like the laughing stock of the school system. They're a discount McDonald's, basically. I mean, it's that simple. You're eating junk food every single day. You've had all sorts of scandals. You've had meat scandals. I don't know if I could find it right now, but you basically have just a horrible environment. But here we go from The Guardian itself. You have really bad stuff going on. Horse meat found in school lunches, that's the whole thing. You have weird stuff in pizza, and it's all extremely unhealthy. And we have a study here from the NCBI saying the junk food in schools has gotten worse, and it has contributed to childhood obesity, and that the effects of this have been really devastating. You can go, it's a very long and thorough study. I've read part of it, not gonna lie, I did not read this whole thing. Maybe sometime, but not right now. And you have well-documented evidence that the school system is basically promoting obesity, even as they give you these health ed classes on how you need to be eating healthy, and you need to have your vegetables and your, a million pancakes a day, because that's what some lobbyists in DC told you to say 40 years ago. It's ridiculous. So basically what you have is a incredibly high childhood obesity rate. I bet I could just find it real quick here. It's a calamity, really. You have about 20% obesity rate, and it's potentially even worse than that because this, and that's as many in many cases because of the school lunches and how just absolutely terrible they are. There have been studies that showed that if you eat school lunches, you're more likely to be obese. You're more likely to not get any or little physical exercise. It's just a really, really bad situation where you're not going to live a good life. They set you up for failure, and I think intentionally to basically numb you, to turn you into a sheep that can be used as sort of the DC establishment sells out America. And again, this is not a conspiracy theory because I'm not alleging a conspiracy. I'm alleging that this is the natural evolution of the school system, and this is what has naturally occurred. So don't take this the wrong way. Just as devastating as the school lunch is the death of recess in America. You have basically, again, kids are being drained of their internal monologues. Kids are being drained of their creativity. They're being drained of everything, and it's being pumped into something, but it's being taken. Everything's being taken out of them, and this has probably caused partially much of our ADHD spike. We have basically kids are expected to sit silent, to listen to the teacher at all times, to not talk to their friend next to them, to not look at the posters on the wall, to pay total 100% attention to what the teacher is saying with the whiteboard. Yeah, right. And, well, it's been found that basically this is because of recess. Because we have basically killed recess in America. A very, very small percentage of America's youth gets the physical exercise they need every day. I believe it's 30-some%, and much of that's because of recess. We have eliminated, I believe, about half, perhaps even a little more, of our recess time over the last 40 or so years, since the 1970s, perhaps. And it's been devastating. It's been devastating. I've seen the effects in person because when I was in kindergarten, you had recess twice a day. It was very, very good. You had a lot of behavior problems, but it kind of got worse over time, and that did correspond. Not necessarily doesn't necessarily mean that means it was caused by it. Correlation does not equal causation. However, then you go to middle school and you have basically no recess, and it gets even worse. So it really does show in the classroom that when you don't have recess, you're really, really hyperactive. And it's definitely been found that when you have recess, you pay more attention. You kind of you're able to function better. You're able to listen better, and you're able to potentially learn better. I mean, I don't know how much learning is actually happening. However, recess is vital to the well-being of students. And again, you're just having all this creativity pumped out of you. You're being totally set up for failure. You have nothing in the end. And this has naturally evolved to allow America's political establishment to basically run amok, to do whatever it wants, because the people have been so numbed by the school system in every way. Many of the obesity rate. You have nobody gets any physical exercise, and really in recess, what you're doing is you're allowing later in the day, once you've gotten the energy out of you, you're allowing your mind to exercise. So school has totally removed critical thinking, any kind of it. You're not taught by any means how to think. You're taught almost exclusively what to think. You're taught, all right, this is what we know to be true. You better not question this. This is what we know. This is totally how things are. You're not allowed to question it. Shut up. What do you know? You're like 7 years old. That's the mentality in school, and it's pretty terrible. All right, next up here we have an article. This is from a while back, but there have been many other studies corroborating it. An article from Peter Gray about the literal danger, the physical danger of going back to school. And here you can see the suicide rates. So what Peter Gray did is he looked at the emergency psychiatric visits at a Connecticut Children's Mental Center in Hartford. He looked at those over all 12 months of the year, and what he found was that, shocker, it was by far the lowest in the summer months when there's not so much school going on, and it was the highest sort of in the middle of the school year when you go into I guess March and May are the highest when you're really, really into it. You got all those big tests coming up. It's really a struggle, and that's how it works. The school system This is proof. And there again many other studies corroborating this proof that the school system basically drives kids to the brink, and in some cases even they end up killing themselves. I mean, truly very tragic, but that's how it goes. And you know, social media certainly contributes to this. I mean, you still have a fair few admissions here in the summer months. However, I'd say by and large, or at least probably at least half of this is caused by the school system, where you're depressed. So again, the school system just takes everything out of you over the course of 13 years. It takes out of you the sort of energy by making you obese, and takes out sort of the mental exercise you get by making you hyperactive all day. It takes out the happiness in you by making you depressed and suicidal. It takes everything from you. Never forget what the school system takes from you. That doesn't mean you have to give up. I mean, certainly try to get that stuff back. That's part. You need to help. The only person these days, the only person that can help you is you. That's the way it is. You cannot rely on the school system. Never rely on their advice. Their advice is more often than not terrible. Better example than any I can think of right now is the food pyramid, where you just have a complete lack of professionalism going into that thing. So work to get that back. Work to get that ability back. Work to get your health back. But the school system takes it all from you. It numbs you. It turns you into a docile sheep to be herded around, which in turn, again, I'm not alleging a conspiracy theory. I'm simply alleging that this is the way these things are naturally going to progress. But if you have a population that has been turned into basically sheep and have had the physical and mental capacities kind of scientifically removed from them, then you're going to have a government that runs amok, that gets into all sorts of bad stuff, and that, this is the most important part, secretly erodes our freedoms, because the government's not here to protect our freedoms. I mean, sure, they are in theory, but they don't. So the government is not how you're going to protect your freedoms, unless you have control of it or something. But anyway, it's the people that you have to have a people capable of self-governance. And that's not what we've had. True freedom, not this sort of abstract thing where I can do whatever I want and no one can boss me around because, this is America. I can smoke. I can watch whatever I want. That just degrades yourself. That just further gets you in this sort of trap of just completely forgetting about your mental and physical capacities. That it just gets you deeper in the hole, which is started by the school system. I mean, just think of it, how when kids go to school, they come in with they want to learn so badly in kindergarten. I mean, I think we've all seen kindergarten classes or remember it. These kids want to learn. They genuinely want to learn. And then by the time they get out of 12th grade, they literally act like zombies. They hate this, and I can't blame them, but they hate the school system. They've been made, all their physical and mental abilities have been numbed. They're destroyed. They're completely destroyed. It's a horrible thing that happens in the school system. Clearly, something very strange has happened to education in the last couple centuries, really. Because this is not education. This is nothing like. This is not even close to education. This is the opposite of education, whatever the heck that is. Maybe that you could argue that's being schooled, honestly. And the idea of sort of tacitly eroding freedoms while your population is sort of docile has been around for a very long time. It goes back hundreds and hundreds of years. It was written about by a Dutch philosopher named Bruce Spinoza. This is the book I'm on right now if you're watching this on YouTube, Tractatus Theologico-Politicus. He advocates the subtle erosion of freedom while supposedly keeping it around. We'll nominally have free speech, but actually if you say something mean, or if you are not, or if you're in a safe space, then no, you can't do that. No. It's similar things have happened with the Second Amendment, whatever your thoughts on it. I mean, it has been tacitly eroded. Same thing with the Fourth Amendment. I mean, that's been trounced all over. So everything has basically been secretly, silently eroded. While still, I mean, no one's gonna think of repealing the Bill of Rights. No one's gonna repeal the First, Second, or Fourth Amendment. That's not gonna happen. But you're still nominally going to have that. Same for the 10th Amendment, which says that the federal government can't do anything not specifically enumerated to it. That's not going to be repealed, but it's been broken thousands of times to the point where it's basically null and void. So you're not going to have these things be repealed. You're not going to have free speech repealed, or gun rights repealed, or the right to basically privacy repealed. None of that's going to be repealed. However, it will be secretly eroded, and that's going to be all the more easy if the population has been made completely docile by the school system. And again, I keep having no conspiracy theorizing here. I'm not alleging a conspiracy. There was no room where they said, all right, this is exactly what we're going to do, point A to point B to point C. That's not what happened. What happened was you had this school system which was meant to sort of produce the idealized American, and it failed because the entire idea that you can learn while being secluded from the outside world is bogus. So the school system is in some, by and large, is in some evil conspiracy, at least from the beginning. Maybe certainly elements of that creeped into it. It's not, but that's not how it is. What the school system really is basically just a bad idea gone right, where this was never going to work. This was never going to work. You were always eventually, I mean, maybe not immediately, but you were always eventually going to it was always going to become this, and because of it, our elites have been totally able to run wild, and here we are today, where America seems like it's on the brink of collapse, almost. And that's kind of how it's been working. So yeah, that was a fun episode, but basically, the message of the episode is a little bit of positive messaging here, and this isn't meant to give you motivation, by the way. It's meant to give you discipline, which is much more effective than motivation. But the only person that can turn this around is you. You watching this video. The only person that can turn yourself around is you. It's not going to be the school system. It's not going to be some institution. Your doctor can't do it. There's no miracle drug either. And just so you know, your government doesn't care about you. It's only you. You're the only person that can turn this around. That can turn your life around. That can basically defeat the school system. And no, it's not fair. Nothing about this is fair. It's never been fair. But you have to try. You have to try and do it, and you have to succeed. And you have to become basically capable of intellectual self-defense. You have to become physically, not perfect, not even great, but decent. You have to turn your life around. And don't let this, I mean, motivation's cool and all, but you let this discipline you. Let you learn about the system, learn about what you're up against, and discipline yourself. We need this. We need people capable of self-governance. It's very simple. This is not super complicated. This is pretty simple stuff. So if you could do that, then that'd be one really nice step towards fixing this country. Because, well, unfortunately, past generations didn't seem to do anything about America's destruction. So it's up to us now. We gotta fix this mess. That'll be fun, won't it? All right. Well, I guess we're pretty much out of time here. I think my voice is pretty kind of like hoarse or something. That's kind of weird. But anyway, if you did like the video, then, I mean, please do like the video. It's kind of like a very simple, logical step where if you like the video, you like the video. And subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube. You can leave us a comment. That'd be pretty epic. And yeah, you can look at some links in the description. They're pretty cool too. So until next time, I've been your host. Have a great rest of your day.